Start recording. Okay. And then okay. Doesn't seem to be perfectly precise. Come on. It's awkward. Okay. Got one. I need to jump back several steps. And this. I guess this does end up being an exact fold. Look at this, where it's going. I think this is where we're ending up. Yes. This is a decent sized item. This guy gets folded out. Just a tiny bit. It's bisecting down there. Oh, and you want this to be parallel to here. I'm going to do that on the other side, I believe. I really should have tested this before. Okay. And this, she's explaining a lot with audio that I do not have. Okay. I'm gonna fold this, but I might end up getting a slightly different frog depending on how this unfolds, because I'm getting some not super crisp edges, but that's just on me. Yeah, this is particularly tight. I wish I was a little bit more accurate with some of these folds. I will fold this frog. Angled over time. Come on, man. And then folding it up. Folding it over. Inverting this fold, which is always a little awkward. I'm going to finish this frog, but I think I'm ultimately going to actually find a slightly simpler one, not because I just haven't gotten this very tight. This is a weirdly loose guy. Should practice this. That's my bad. What did I do here? I feel like I missed a step. This is supposed to be flush on the edge. Or is this folded underneath? I think that this is actually folded underneath and I missed that step. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me. This doesn't look right, and it does. I was talking with my mom earlier today, and so didn't have as much free time as I intended. I also played too much Wolfenstein last night. Okay, that makes more sense. I'm getting close. Let me look at this again. You have that line. You have a parallel line. Fold this to there. It is starting to look more like a frog. Now, fold this down. You sort of flatten that out a little. And then you fold this guy under. And this guy under. And there's a little frog. She's creasing this down a bit. And there's your froggy. I'm not sure if I could accurately do this a second time. Oh wait, no. Now she's doing a different deal. It's got the fatter frog bit. And then angling here, taking this, folding it out, pulling this out as well. Giving this guy some eyes up here. This frog's a little bit more sculptural than the origami that I typically do, in the sense that it has more dimension to it and doesn't lie flat. Give him an extra little bit here. It's a little bit awkward to do, but it's because I haven't done it before, and the form doesn't have like a traditional base, so to speak. It doesn't come from a standard sort of form to it. I'm just going to see if I can remember how to do a frog offhand. I think that's based on a dollar bill, though. Let me see if I can find origami. Oh wait, there's some that popped up here. Most of them that show up are the thinner one. Where you have really thin legs. You can see here it's got a little bit of awkward things. And it gets a little bit thin at some spots. Not terribly difficult to do. I wish I had the audio, but I turned the audio off so it wouldn't be annoying on your side of things. What does this one look like? That one's okay. That's the one that I remember. Is this... Turn it into... Yeah, this is taking it in half. I like it when it's got a little bit more characterization to it. I do like this guy, how the form ends up. I'm just going to paint on this guy for a second while I try to see what this simple frog pops up as. That's doing the one where it gets folded more. Might as well start from a half-size sheet, which isn't. I'm looking at some other origami frog shapes right now online. I should have done this yesterday and I didn't, so thanks for being patient as I work through these bits. I'm gonna paint on this guy for a sec because I want to. It's different painting on a three-dimensional form. The tiny origami frog has really thin legs that don't do so well either. Sort of lucked out with my first items. Tiny origami frog. It's just got super thin attributes to it. And that's what makes me a little bit hesitant to try that one out. If I'd practiced this one more, maybe. But my folds weren't super accurate, so if I unfold this, I'm going to be a bit confused as to what the forms were. I can make this tiny little guy. I might try that guy. Or these. Sorry, I'm talking and not making sense with what I'm saying. This other frog that I'm looking at is simple, but not my favorite because you're sort of faking the square form by folding it in half immediately. But it is a cute little frog guy. Let's see what it feels like to try and fill this in. Let me just paint the top of this guy, and then I think I'm gonna fold this simpler form. The other one will do little hopping bits. More like a little toy frog. It's so much easier to paint when it's flat. But I'll make a simpler frog for painting. But I wanted to at least try the frog that you suggested. My favorite origami creature, I really like classic crane, and a fish that I know how to do, but it's got some of the same issues as the frog would for doing this sort of approach to things, where it has thin sections of it. I might try that one at some point, but I also need to remember how it's done. It's got fins that are pretty thin, and its tail is also quite thin. Here's that frog. Now let's do the simple frog that I think I can do from memory. I just forgot the attribute. Look, it's like it's resting on this little log. It's a cute frog. I do like the form. It just has issues for my own accuracy in folding, and the fact that it has some curved areas that aren't as cut and dry precise with the attributes of it. I don't think it's, this is me jumping to a different thought. I don't think it's uploaded right now, but for made a second emote, but it's only available for tier 2 because where I'm at now with my subscription stuff for people who are subscribed, I'm only allowed to have one per tier. I can't add emotes, but if other people join, I can move that back to tier 1 so that I would make a bunch of emotes for tier 1 if I had the capability. But right this moment, I do not have that. And then I thought about starting to make a more complex one, but I was like, I should probably save that for stream and showcase that process and let people watch what's happening with it. We're just making a simple frog. Part of the thing that I don't like about this form, this simpler frog, come on, what is it? I have too many cuts into this mat board, so it's thicker, and if you hit one of those grooves, it'll sort of fall into that tracking space. That show up here. I think you need to have emote not popping up there. I think the SQ made it act up odd. I don't know I don't think the other one got approved. So right now I just have the one. It takes a few days for emotes to get approved. Okay, so this is the simpler frog. First thing with the simpler frog, you're straight up just folding it in half. Because you need to have an elongated piece of paper, which for the design will work fine. Because it'll just have it doubled up, but it's not my favorite aspect of it because it's sort of cheating the paper form a little bit. Also, you gotta be a little bit tighter on these because you have more paper in the fold itself. This guy is more like a little toy frog. It's not as sculptural as this one. But it hops. I think you can also fold this one out of a dollar bill. It's the same basic form. Maybe a little bit different, but so typically this is called like a water bomb base. This just thing where you have that, it would just cut off there. Then you fold this guy up. Fold this guy over. This might be better with thinner paper. I'm just using standard printer paper and it muddles the folds a little bit because the paper is thicker. Work out T square? I guess it does. It's got that sort of relationship going. These guys come out. That's what we do with regular origami paper. And come down. Out. Out. Up. Up. And then you can give it what is that fold happening? Yeah, it's here. And down. This is a little bit chunky. This one's fun. So this frog, much simpler, far less sculptural. Same size paper. This one's just starting with it sort of folded in half. This guy, no hopping. This guy, lots of hopping. So now let's unfold. And create a pattern. That's what I meant by like this one's more of a toy frog. making a little bit of some educated guesses because some of these folds are not accurate or particularly strong because it's folded over. And it's okay if there's some discrepancy here. So this is the head of the frog right there. And these are the two front feet. And the back feet are sort of here and here. But it's folded over more than once. This gets difficult to visually understand. Here. Okay. That's where that ultimately lines up. The further along in the folding process, the softer the folds are, the less crisp, the harder they are to read. And I'll leave that as that. Got everyone, I found those two. And I'll leave those as folds. Okay, this looks good. Any issues that I have with finding some lines, it'll just be sort of taken care of by the fact that it's folded. Flip that in just a sec. Okay, cool. I think we're good. Flatten this out a bit. Flip this tape. And translate this pattern. As best as I can do. It's a lot of faces. You wanna... I can try and show you what the... It's a lot of faces and a lot of them get hidden. It's exaggerated on this one because it's folded in half. But let's see what this sort of guy might look like. Start to have these radial sections if you have more descriptive or elongated elements. Because in order to get something to be that shape and that size, thank you, this espresso patronum. Appreciate it. This one has a lot of small triangular forms. So this one actually might have less things overall because it's less boom, 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 folding back and forth. If I spent more time with it, I might revisit this at some point, but for right now, I'm going with the simpler frog guy. And I'm gonna mark off these edges, these corners. I just have a greater sense of confidence with this form rather than the other frog. All right, let's get to it. Immediately mess it up. This was just a little bit flatter. I don't want to do that. I was trying to think of different ways I could do this. I was like, I could try putting this behind a sheet of glass, but that would make for not a great experience either. trying to give myself a little bit more buffer on this because it's not the best line stuff on my part. There's almost definitely a better way to approach this, but I don't have that worked out yet. I'm trying to work my way from the middle out just because these have some greater detail in these portions. All of these feet. Despite the fact that it only has 4 feet, it sort of radiates out from a central point. So you end up with something more like 8 feet or 16 feet is the sort of feeling of it, because it's reflected. A little tiny face there. What's the cropping look like? Let's get just a little bit tighter. Despite the fact that I think this one ends up having a little bit more number of shapes, I can more confidently fold it a second time the same way because it's a simpler folding pattern, folding process. Okay. Just thinking in my head about something. I might revisit this other frog after I fold it a few more times. That's my own bad for saying that I was gonna be more proactive about that one. I was like, I got time, and then I just didn't budget my time correctly. I was like, it should be fine. But it's okay, I can pivot and do one version, come back to it later. But I might try doing something that I haven't really spent as much. This format of unfolding it, tracing it is easy and works well, and it fills the page, but I am curious about a different sort of approach where I make the figure and then I paint it, or I at least outline the sections that are visible and then fold it. That process I'm a little bit wary about, just because having this form where all the folds are referenced, it informs me as to where certain folds take place, because some folds are going to be subjective, because I might not be super accurate with it, and if I then reference it a second time, it could become even like more inaccurate, if that makes sense. Like if I do an imperfect job the first time, then I come back and I paint something based on that imperfection, and I make a different, slightly variant choice on the one following, then I can have a completely different set of issues, and it won't be as tight as I'd like it to be. Getting close to painting in the faces. These sections are a little bit larger, so it should move a little faster. Getting closer. Probably still have at least an hour left. I think it might be... I'm trying to think of different ways that I can do this more efficiently, because this process is interesting if you're watching it start to finish and you have a more interesting final piece. But I like the idea of like maybe having a selection of these. If I were to create a collection of these patterns, that I just have the folding as the part that I have to do, that would be easier. Like if I create a selection of these patterns and then have them printable, and then have just that, maybe that's what it is, as I work through. Okay, here's a thing that I can do. As I work through creating more of these patterns, I can sell the originals, but I can then print just collections of the patterns, fold tiny guys, put them in my machine thing, and then have some sort of giveaway where I've got it pre-done so I'm not working after the fact. That works. Okay. So, if you want to, as a viewer, put anything into this as a concept, you're welcome to. Where before I was thinking about filling in, or putting a bunch of little folded individual things into my, I keep pointing behind me because I have a like gumball toy vending machine thing. I can fold multiples of the same thing, have a bunch back in there, and just have it like a, alright, and today this person gets this guy. And instead of, that's a lot happened. Yeah. Instead of having it be like, and sorry, keep talking and not saying anything. I've got a bunch of little folded copies of whatever origami forms that I have, and I just have these patterns pre-made. Like, I can collect all of these patterns. I have them scanned at a high enough resolution to print on like an inkjet printer. And I can print them and then be like, oh, someone gets this guy, and then I fold it live, and then I can ship that second one that's not an original drawing, but there's an element of like surprise or enjoyment, and like, here's a tiny version of something. Does that make sense? I might pursue that. That way I can fold like, I don't know, 20 plus of each guy, print out the associated things, have it like in a file folder or something, and then be like, oh, this person gets this one. And then ship it off. So instead of paying like $50 for an original thing, you can pay like $4. You get a version of the thing. It's not quite the same quality as this. I can even print it on this paper. This is tracing paper. But it's set for an inkjet printer. Alright, I like that as a concept idea a bit. I might pursue that. Printed pattern and instructions. I am curious. Or it could be you get the tiny guy and you get the printed version of it, but it's something else. Figuring things out. But I like the idea of like, here's essentially like a tiny toy, and then here's a version of this other thing. But that solves the issue of having to create like 150 different origami forms. Instead, I can repeat elements and have them in there. It could be that I would want to get them, I'd have to do testing on printing stuff, because what I immediately, like my knee-jerk thing is like, do a bunch of screen prints. But screen printing ink tends to be a little bit thick, and I don't know how that would behave when it's folded. Tiny versions of it, and you would get like a little. So I don't know if you were watching Eve when I showed my little vending machine. Come on, just give me a little bit. Maybe that comes later on, but it could be like a tail end of some broadcast or something, because actually folding the piece isn't the thing that's time consuming. The time consuming thing is painting the design. But if I have it scanned and just printed, inkjet or otherwise, then I can just have a bunch of them. Fold it, and then you have a version of it, but not the original. It can be much cheaper. It can be a repeated thing. But Eve, I've got these guys. These little acorn capsules. It's not a toy outright, but it feels kind of like that. That's a little frog, but this one, the legs are super thin, and that's why I didn't want to do it for painting. But like that butterfly I had, that one works fine. This frog is okay. That other frog could work as well. Tiny origami, and then here's your printout thing. I want to have something where there's utilization of that. A tiny frog. I'll make a tiny one of this guy, but I might preemptively cut it in half because doubling up on the width is not, or folding it over doesn't do well when you get small. At this scale, it's more okay. But when you're working smaller, if you have it folded over on itself, but it's unnecessary, I guess it adds to the thickness and makes it hop better, possibly. Because it has more resistance. I might get a new brush for doing these tiny little ones. Where is it? There it is. That should help a little bit. Need to get a new brush. This one's acting up. It's just because I'm doing such small little bits. Having one that doesn't have little excess stuff would be advantageous. So many tiny little bits. Also, if I print these, I can scale it down slightly and be a more traditional. I think the traditional size for most origami paper is 6 inches. And I could make this scale down to actually be within that 6-inch format. Hand's a bit dry. I need to put lotion on it later. Not right this moment because I don't want to get lotion on this paper and make it more resistant. This guy looks creepier. A tiny face. Sorry, I got excited at the prospect of trying to find an origami paper printing company. the time pieces. Oh, that's why it's so dark. Well, two things. I'm going to open up this window. Give myself a little bit more natural light, but also overhead light. Check these levels. I forgot to push it here. Okay, sorry. What's Outlook? Okay. I did watch all of the first section of Avatar, and there is a little bit of that, but the arrow points the opposite direction on these guys. I watched a bunch of Avatar: The Last Airbender on while I was working on Fiona Apple stuff, and then I realized I wasn't paying close attention, so I took breaks here and there. Why can't I think of... What do they call the main dude on it? Avatar. What's the name of the main dude? Aang. Okay. I don't know why I was struggling so hard in finding that in my head. Yeah, there's a little bit of airbender look. The triangle guys, I tried, because this one was a little bit uneven physically on the surface of the paper. It was curling a bit. I didn't want to get too complex with the direction of the faces. Usually I try with the triangular face dudes to have more often that they face a direction, so they've intersect the outline a little bit. But this one overall, it's all straightforward faces, facing forward faces. Because they either have the arrows, they have super pointy heads, which aren't my favorite, or how's doing? How you doing, Zalek? What's the audio level on this? I'll bump it up just a little bit. This tape's a bit quieter than the woodblock one. I'm working on another origami, dude. Aang, A-A-N-G. I only know that because I just looked it up because I was struggling to think of it. Another origami guy. I think I worked out an idea for incorporating the, I'm talking to Zalek now because he's joining in, incorporating the vending machine, where before I was like, I could fit or fold a bunch of individual different kinds of origami. Hope that Chicken, you had a nice walk. It's supposed to snow again tomorrow, I think. So just be wary of that. Yeah. I think you're slightly more prepped for a lighter snow than you were prepped for the heavier snow. Like you're aware of the snow a little bit more this time around. I am and I'm not. Well, that means that I might... I don't know. Sorry. I need to go to the post office to drop something off, but something that someone wanted me to ship to Norway. So, I dropped something off, actually for Jess from Tumblr ordered a thing. She ordered two things. One was automatically fulfilled by the printing service. I'm all over the place. And then the other one was a shirt, and so I had to drop off the shirt. But that doesn't take long, I just drop it off and leave. Trying to expedite the process of shipping internationally is why I was looking up free packing supplies from the post office, because you have to put you can do international shipping stuff and pay for it at home using some sort of shipping or label printing service sort of thing, but you have to have envelopes that you adhere to the package that have the customs forms in there. You can print out the customs forms, but they're loose, and you can't just have it like embedded in the information in the like barcode or however your putting things into stuff. You have to have a physical, like, printed out or hand-drawn version of it. So I ordered some of those free from the post office, but online, so they'll probably get here next week, but that should make it so I can just drop something off and don't have to talk to a clerk and then pay for it and then do that bit. But I'd still need to do that for the thing to Norway because I don't have the little attachment guy. Little clear envelope. Anyway, for the vending machine, what I kind of want to do is possibly build out a number of these guys, these origami patterns and figures, and then fold a bunch of little guys, throw them in there, and then have it be something of a giveaway where it's either the person, which one you get, clink, 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 that's the one you got, or what's today's origami guy that I'm folding, and I just fold it that day, as opposed to doing the full process of this, because this is time consuming. But if it's like a tail end thing, or it could be like a giveaway of sorts, but like you tune in to see what you got. But printing off these patterns and then folding them. So as I like work through and gain more of these, I just have them available, and I could even make it so people could buy the cheaper just flat thing and I can ship it much, well, not so much easier because it shouldn't be folded at all. It should be flat when it arrives, but it can be just in a standard like manila envelope, which means that I can ship it as a letter of some kind as opposed to shipping it as a package or a parcel. And it's not so sensitive. So that's what I was thinking about. I'm gonna try and finish these tiny guys. That way I can just fold a bunch of the same ones and just have a selection going, as opposed to trying to create potentially like hundreds of unique ones of these guys, because these take time. But if I scan them and just have them just available, to print, and just print a bunch or try and find someone that can print them. It has to be pretty I gotta check in about what the printing process would be, just in the sense that like the ink has to be pretty adhered to the paper since you're physically messing with it, so I don't think laser printing makes sense. I could try it, but I think it would be bad, and the paper itself should be pretty thin, so I'm not sure what the best approach would be. But because I was thinking screen printing, I could just have a screen and print through them a bunch, but screen printing ink tends to be a bit more viscous, and so the ink on the page a bit viscous as well, and that doesn't do well for origami. But if people are just interested in it as a print, interesting as well. I don't know, figuring things out, but trying to get more interactive stuff worked out. Whenever I try to do that with my nose, I feel like I'm imitating someone who's taking snuff. I feel like a weird 18th century, like somehow more gentlemanly than someone who's smoking a cigarette, but it's a pretty like harsh action and gesture, and it's never used in movies to indicate someone who's like, I'm calm, cool, and collected. It's more like, I'm a weird English dude from either contemporary, and I'm like trying to revive something that I saw my dad do in the 60s or something. But like you were alive in the 60s. Or it's like I don't know. I'm just sort of talking and thinking, but snuff is weird. And I feel like I'm imitating that when I try to clear up my nose in that manner. It's nice to be able to just be like a looser little bit for that face. Sad face. Small, or larger. All the other ones have been pretty small thus far. Oh, I played some Wolfenstein The New Order last night and enjoyed it. It's very cartoonish for play dynamic, like shooting the enemies, like don't have to be particularly accurate. You just have to know what the general expectations are for the levels. It's still fun. It's just like it doesn't feel like there's terrible consequences for playing poorly. I have died a number of times, but it's usually that I get tripped up for some element of what you're supposed to do or play through things. Like I took over some cannon thing at some point, and I thought I was supposed to like attack this giant robot, but really I was just supposed to go back inside. And so I died doing that. What else? There were two robots, and I died a number of times, but it's because I was preparing before like this action was necessary, and I picked up a turret and got in the car, and then it forces you to drop the turret, then it places you far away from the car, or from where you jump on the car, and so like the turret that would have helped to fight the robots I don't have anymore, and so I died a number of times there. And there was a Polish dude saying like, robots. I heard him say robots a lot because I got killed by them, I don't know, 5 times. I don't know what the most difficult first-person shooter I've ever played is. I'm not that big into accurate video games. I don't know what the most difficult game I've played is. It might be something like Cuphead. Is it just coming up on 5? Okay, I'm alright on time. I never decided to play Dark Souls 3 because I was like, I don't want to do a boss game where, like, if I mess up, it actually punishes me in a way that's frustrating. That's not my interest. Isn't there some, like, samurai game that came out and the guy was like, why put an easy mode on it? You don't deserve this. You played a lot of Hollow Knight for not being super into platformers. I like platformers alright, but platformers also, like, it feels like it's a tougher thing to design as a game. Because it's gotta be engaging with not super complex movements and stuff. Played most Mario games. Except maybe Super Mario Galaxy 2? I forget if I played that. Oh, you need a more aesthetic reason to play your platformer. Someone commented on one of my recent posts of I think it was of the woman, like, floating like that. They said that it looked like Gree, and I was like, that's nice. I don't necessarily think it looks like Gree, but I like that game and I think it's well done. I think it might be a case of, like, not having too many reference points for non-Disney 2D animation stuff. Just trying to think what the easiest games that I've ever played are that are still engaging, and I think it might be something like Journey, where it's not really a game that you're playing so much, it's just experiencing and going through. And there are games that are easy because you can't technically lose. Like, you can't lose at Animal Crossing, and it's not a game where, like, I think a lot of people would be disappointed in Animal Crossing if you could die. But it's not. There's very little, but still some timing elements to it, but it's not like difficult in that manner. Kind of same with what is it? Stardew Valley. I think maybe the most repetitive game I've played intently be rhythm-based games like Guitar Hero, which I want to try playing again sometime, maybe? I don't know. I still can connect it with my Wii U. I remember first playing Guitar Hero at my friend's basement, and I could not play anything more than like medium. I like rhythm games depending. Depends on like how complex it gets. Guitar Hero, fun, but not all the ones. Also can force you to listen to songs that you don't really like. You're better at first-person shooters than I am. Good at... Maybe your perception of how good you are at games is based on the fact that you watch a lot more professional gamers and such. Where I'm like, I enjoy this, I'm pretty alright at this. I'm not going to look at people who do it more obsessively than me. I'm just going to enjoy playing this game and maybe be better at some elements than people I know. That's the extent of it. I think I'm better at Tony Hawk than some of my immediate friends, but when I play online, I am just sort of average. So, what I'm going to do is not play online because I want to feel good about playing. I might be decent at Burnout 3 might be a game that like I'm better than the like most people at. It has to be the old version, it can't be the new one where people played competitively online. Except I think people did play competitively online with that game. I just didn't have online. Xbox Live, I didn't have it. Racing games, you can get like pretty tight on the competitive aspects of it, but there's still, you're good at Mario Kart. That's a good one. Arcade racers. Mario Kart is something I feel like I can confidently play online pretty well. That's because it's got a wider range and there's more luck involved in that game. So you can do it perfectly and still fail, which is frustrating, but appreciate it that it plays that way. Nintendo is typically pretty good at making games that, like, if you're perfect at it, you're not that much better than someone who's pretty good at it. For, like, their party games. But it's still engaging for the people who are more competitive and obsessive about it. Except for something like Smash Bros. You can play Smash Bros. Against someone who's very good, and it just is, it sucks. There are people who know like glitches in Mario Kart and can abuse them and just be like, I did this in an impossible time. No shells, only skill. That's me. I'm a passive player. You've played Smash Bros. With me. And I'm super floaty. I'm like, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me, hit you, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me, I'll hit you. They're like, it makes sense that you're playing this way, but I don't like it. I think that's reflective of our personalities a little bit as well. I'm like, I don't want to fight anyone. I want to win, but I don't want to fight anyone. And if I feel like I'm losing, I was like, I'm just gonna mess around with this. I'm just gonna see if I can be a super annoying villager in Smash Bros. Just drop that tree all the time. Constantly. Putting that tree out there. And like every 10th time it might hit you. And you're like, why? And then you get frustrated. Okay, I can try and get that. I was playing Wolfenstein. I was like, I want to try and play some new game. I was trying to think if there was anything on Switch that I would want, and I was like, I still have games I haven't played on PS4. I should just mess with that some. So that's why I was playing some Wolfenstein, which is very different than Animal Crossing. So many tiny little faces on this. That's why this one's taken a bit longer. Many tiny faces. Also the fact that I tried to do one frog without testing it, and I was like, I don't feel confident in folding this one a second time. So I can revisit it later, perhaps. Little face. Slightly larger face. This is the actual, like, top of the frog. Make him look a little less sad. then almost done with painting. Then scanning won't take very long. Folding won't take very long. Alright, let's go in and fill in these last solid bits. Last one. Here I left to cover. It's a frog. That was an intense little sound of the sort of cracking of the chair. That would be insane. It was my back. Back. Let's connect this guy. Image capture. Open this up. Show it. Canon. LID E400. Canon lied. Oh man. You know what felt nice just now? Looking at my emails. There's only one that's like a tax form that I want to keep present in my consciousness, but pretty much all the other ones. Origami. Frog scan. I only have one email that's unread, and it's one that I have read. I just don't want to, or I need to remember to deal with it later when I'm actually filing the taxes. Because I'm an adult filing taxes. Scanning. This one takes a second because it's got 1200 DPI. Use while that's scanning. Trying to see if I can. I'll fold that back later. Okay. Time to open up Photoshop. And it's open. And then it's open too. Open. Desktop. Lab designs. 206. Origami scan. I did decent with this. I'm scanning it first so that I can have the design present. Let's over here. This guy down here. Let's see how square this is. Better than some of the other ones. Scan it up a tiny bit. Because it looks like the top edge has a little bit more leeway. Let's cut off 2 pixels, 3 pixels on either side. Make this darker. Any glaring spots that are like just very bad. This is a little too light still. Yeah, you can see it being a bit blurry, but that's because this is giant. Nope, let's take this back to being brush. I was working on some pixel stuff last night. Thanks for being patient, Beatrice. Appreciate it with your suggestion and the fact that I shifted a little bit with some elements of it. But we're almost to folding it. Once I make this just a bit smaller so I can save it. JPEG, this is Insta. Come over here. Yeah. I always forget when I do that. Photoshop off. Image. I'm gonna switch this out. And then we'll start folding in like 20 seconds maybe. So, before I folded it this way, I'm going to fold it this way this time. I gotta get this one pretty good. This is like the most significant fold. Okay. Better. I'll make that the top of the phone. Hello, Anna. This is where it gets a little bit tight. It is fun seeing where like all of these start to line up. No sé, Chiro o Saltan. color. Beatrice knows Spanish. I didn't realize. This is correct, right? Oh wait, no. Fold it down. I was like, something's off. Fold this guy. And this guy. This guy. Yeah. Little froggy. Ah. The other one jumps a little bit stronger because it's thicker paper. So I'll show that comparison. This way. Thanks for translating. I appreciate it. It's got little hopping guys. This one, this hops a little bit better just because it's thicker paper. Folds first, and folds that way. Out, down, up, up, over, over, and like that. This one's thicker paper, so it hops a little bit more aggressively. But you can do this with the dollar bill as well. I used to do that a lot. They're fun to play with. What was I gonna? I was gonna fold this guy tiny. Let's make a tiny little guy. Not crazy tiny, but I'm gonna work with a 2x2 square, which I think is actually easiest to just cut it from the middle so that it'll be a bit more square. Gonna make a tiny frog, but this guy, not the more complex one. We're gonna make the one that I just folded, but smaller. From a 2-inch thing. And for this one, I might cut it in half, like, so that I don't have to fold it twice. It might not jump as well, but it will be easier to fold, because it has some spots where it has a number of folds over itself. So, start with that. Ah, got a good frog. Nope. I might grab, let's see, Let's zoom in, let's make it so you can really see what's happening. This little guy. Refocus. Okay. I'm gonna grab some tweezers that I have. These tweezers came with a like phone kit thing. So first things first. On frame, we are going to go diagonal. Diagonal the opposite direction. Now, down this way. Up here. It'll be about the same size probably. Just because this one doesn't have as much folding happening, so it doesn't get smaller in that regard. Ranita Ita. Trying to keep it in frame, but it's kind of hard to see when I'm working on stuff. So here's where the tweezers come in handy. So pulling this out. These folds can't be as accurate. Okay. And down here. Down here. Up here. Up here. Over here. Over here. Down and smush. Back. What happened there? Shouldn't quite so big. This guy won't hop as much because I did it from thinner paper, but keeps flipping. Here's what it compares to with the other frog. The other frog is about the same size, but it's folded from a larger piece of paper. Little flippin' dude. And here he is next up. Here's a frog. These are fun to play with. Okay. Put this guy back. Leave this out for the moment. And talk through where you can get stuff and do things and such. And such. So, well, frog guy. Hop and get it and mess with it. If you want to buy this frog, buy a print sort of thing. I'm gonna maybe work on getting a different print situation going where you can actually utilize some stuff. Anyway, if you want to buy this or other stuff, you can go to traceloops.com/store. Purchase this and other things. If you want to ship something that I have in the store outside of the US, there's not an option directly on the site, but you can email me and I'll work with you to get that to you. You can go to traceloops.com or you can email me traceloops@traceloops.com. You can also watch this live stream or previous live streams on youtube.com/traceloops. If you want to follow me on other platforms, you can follow me on instagram.com/traceloops. You can also follow me on tiktok.com/@traceloops. I recently started a Discord, and you can join in that Discord server here. It's not as specific, but there it is. You can join. I haven't looked into using a... You can get custom Discord server names, but I have not done that as of yet. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, curiosities, you can message me here on Twitch. You can throw it in the chat. I'm going to head out soon, so that might not be the best place right this moment. You can message me on Instagram. You can message me on TikTok. But the best way to contact me consistently is gonna be emailing traceloops@traceloops.com. This guy. Hop. The other guy. That was unintentional. But, yeah, if you have any immediate questions, you can try and throw them in the chat, but otherwise I'm about to head on out. Thank you all for watching. For suggestions, if you have any curiosity suggestions or other things, the Discord's a good place to do it, and my email, and that sort of deal. Yep, thank you all for watching. Sorry, I got distracted trying to maybe make that frog again. The other frog, so many frogs. Okay, adios.